What's up, peeps? Darren McDuffie, alias the Fat Man, and have you noticed the epidemics of crazy, the epidemics of autism, and the epidemic of depression? Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about my theory of why we're undergoing all of these epidemics. So stick around. Hey, what's cracking? This is Darren McDuffie, alias the Fat Man, and this video is being brought to you by I'mTheFatMan.com. Make sure you go and check that out. Today I'm discussing a little bit more about the blood-brain barrier. If you've been following me, you know that I did a video on this and I've explained very briefly what the blood-brain barrier was on the aspartame and sucralose video. If you have not viewed that video, I'll attach it here or annotate it so you can actually go to that video and see it if this is the first one that you're seeing. But just to go in reverse and do a bit of a review, the brain is the only organ in our bodies that has its own security system. There are a network of blood vessels that run up to the brain, and their job is to give the brain its nutrients while keeping other substances out. After doing the video on aspartame, I became completely intrigued by the blood-brain barrier, or BBB, and I found out through that video that aspartic acid, which is one of the active components in aspartame, is an excitotoxin, so it has a fairly easy time of passing through or passing over the blood-brain barrier. MSG, monosodium glutamate, is also an excitotoxin. It's actually hidden in a lot of our foods now under many different names. It also can cross over that blood-brain barrier very easily. But I begin to think about what other substances that can cross over. So as of right now, there's a big issue with genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. Many people want to know what's in their food, and you have other people on the other end of the spectrum, namely scientists and Monsanto, who say that genetically modified organisms are totally safe. But let's just back up a second and talk more about fungicides, herbicides, and pesticides. Those three things actually compromise our blood-brain barrier, and it just so happens that conventional farming overuses these chemicals on our food to keep insects away, and that's one of the biggest reasons why they want to go towards GMOs, which are, in my opinion, not that safe. But again, herbicides, fungicides, and pesticides actually end up compromising the blood-brain barrier. So it turns out that herbicides, fungicides, and pesticides aren't the only things that actually cross over the BBB, or what we call the blood-brain barrier. There's two other substances that I wanted to discuss and their actual relationship to diseases that we might be seeing today, and those are aluminum and manganese. I'll first talk a little bit about aluminum. So they've done studies where they have looked at the brains of Alzheimer's patients and saw where aluminum was in the brain. And again, aluminum can cross over that BBB. So how do we actually get that aluminum? We get that aluminum in several different ways. I'll just discuss with you three. One is through our personal care products. A lot of deodorants contain aluminum. And once you put anything on your skin, it goes into your blood. And if it crosses over that blood-brain barrier, it's going to get lodged in the brain. And there's no way to detox aluminum. The second way we can get it is they use aluminum in cheese slices as well. Cheese slices, get that. And then the third thing that they use aluminum in is baking powder, and a lot of people bake different things, and we're unaware that that aluminum is actually in there. You need to start really reading the ingredients that are in your food if you're not already. The next substance I wanted to talk about is manganese. I happened to be digging in the crates and doing some research after reading Dr. Shauna Young's book about, her book is called Erasing Autism. And in that book, she works with a number of different children who have been diagnosed with autism. And one of the things that she discovers that nearly all of them have is a surplus of manganese. And it just turns out that manganese is one of those things that can cross over the blood-brain barrier. Now, the third thing that I'm going to discuss with you that actually affects the BBB is going to blow your mind. Last thing I told you that will blow your mind and that you probably have no idea about that may compromise the BBB, that is pharmaceutical drugs. pharmaceutical drugs contain fluoride. Many of them contain fluoride. Going back to my old haunts, and that would be the pharmaceutical industry, I sold a product called a fluoroquinolone. So if you pay attention to the name fluoroquinolone, fluora actually means that it contains fluoride. And there are a number of different pharmaceutical drugs, antidepressant drugs. Get this, that you have people out there who are depressed who are taking these drugs, and they're taking them and they contain fluoride, and they cross over the blood-brain barrier and actually end up compromising the brain. So how crazy is that? A lot of drugs contain fluoride, and fluoride is considered a neurotoxin. So you have to be smart about all of this stuff, and you have to start connecting the dots. And that's one of the things that really got me into studying more about the blood-brain barrier, because if you look at the fact that fluoride is in a lot of antidepressants, and you have a lot of people out there who are depressed. You have autism that is kind of running rampant. A lot of kids are suffering from autism now, but you have the surplus of manganese that's crossing over the BBB, and on and on and on, and just being able to connect those dots. So this is my theory of why I think that we are under an epidemic when it comes to these conditions, because of our blood-brain barrier being compromised in so many ways. So how do you protect your blood-brain barrier, and how do you strengthen that blood-brain barrier if your blood-brain barrier has been compromised? And how do you even know if your blood-brain barrier has been compromised? If you're suffering from an autoimmune disease, chances are that BBB has been compromised. If you have a child that has autism, chances are their blood-brain barrier has been compromised as well. Now, there are 3 substances that can help with the strengthening of the blood-brain barrier. One of those is alpha-lipoic acid. The other one is resveratrol. And then the last one I purposely saved for last, just simply because it's one of those things that they recommend for leaky gut, and that's L-Glutamine. And there's no secret that the gut has been called the second brain. So when you're taking L-Glutamine to repair that leaky gut, you're actually strengthening the blood-brain barrier. Now, I don't know the exact dosage to take for those particular substances, but I do know that they help with strengthening that blood-brain barrier. And there's a lot of things that are going on in our society right now. There are people out there who are doing just atrocious things. If you look on social media, and you're following things on Facebook and different types of things, you know that there are people out there who are doing things that we never would have dreamed of 30, 40 years ago. There's an epidemic of depression, there's an epidemic of autism, there's all kind of epidemics that are going on, and as I mentioned in the video, dementia and Alzheimer's are one of those things that is steadily rising. So my theory is that certain substances are crossing over this blood-brain barrier, and everybody would benefit from actually using different things to strengthen that blood-brain barrier. So again, hope you learned something from this video. Please feel free to comment on the video. If I can answer any questions for you, I will. This has been Darren McDuffie, alias the Fat Man. Video has been brought to you by unwanted.com, and I will see you soon.